Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys.
First of all, thank you all for being here. As you know, my name is Rachel Harris. I'm the adult programming coordinator. Kathryn Kauffman. Miss Kathryn Kauffman, all the way from Lexington, joining us here tonight.
My name is Kathryn Kauffman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night show. This is where we discuss what and who we are in this journey called life. This episode is kind of piggybacked on not the last episode, but the one before, about time and how our perceptions of time are kind of relative, and how time is not linear like we think it is, but it's more like an address in space-time. Exactly. So we're discussing time slips again tonight, and there's another episode on time slips specifically that's already on my YouTube channel, where I explain what exactly a time slip is, and I give a couple of accounts of some well-documented time slips. Hey to Zoe Wheeler, and a special shout out to Joe Ray and Philip Travis and Charlotte Northcutt. So tonight's episode is going to be how to induce a temporary time slip. Through doing the research on time slips, time travel, and our perceptions of time, I ran across this study that was done about possible theories on how to induce temporary time slips, and it sounded really, really cool. So I wanted to present it to you guys in case a couple of you might want to do this, which I'm going to try it. I'll just tell you right now, I'm going to try it. Hey to Steve Nicholson, Natalie, and Dawn, and Sabine over here on Instagram. Also, I wanted to let you guys know, next Monday, August the 5th, I'm going to be presenting Rife frequencies, R-I-F-E. If you don't know what Rife frequencies are, tune in and find out, because they're extremely helpful. Hey to Jessica. So find out next August the 5th what Rife frequencies are, how to use them, and how it will benefit you in your life. Now, I do have so this is part 2 of the gemstone webinars that I'm presenting. Part 1 is already done. It was healing with gemstones. If you're interested in the information from that webinar, you can get it for $15. Just message me on Facebook or Instagram, DM me, and I will be glad to get you a PayPal link and then send you all the videos and the PDFs that go with that teaching. It shows you and teaches you scientifically how gemstones help you. Now, this is the scientific theories, guys. So on August the 7th, that's number 2 in the webinar series of 4. And number 2 in the webinar series of 4 is metaphysical uses of gemstones. So that's what I'm going to be presenting on August the 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to tickets for the webinar is in the description of this video. So, and if you can't find the link or it's not showing up, just DM me or message me and I will get the link to you. Again, the second one is only $15. You get a downloadable PDF, and you'll also get a recording of the online webinar video to keep. So if you're interested in the metaphysical uses of gemstones to improve relationships, improve your prosperity, There's all kinds of things that, you can use metaphysical uses of gemstones for. So consider signing up and getting a ticket for that webinar. Hey to Lick Mac over here on Instagram, and Ashley Hart, thanks for joining us. So let's get on to our topic for this evening. Hey to Scott Webb, CW Rhodes, Kinley, Jill Jones, Amanda, Pamela Thompson, and Brandon Bowling. Thanks for joining us this evening. I appreciate you guys being here with me. So how to induce a temporary time slip. So if you remember from last week's video, when particles travel faster than the speed of light, time becomes distorted. And both Einstein and several other theorists supposed that this time distortion could happen in several different instances. So one of the ways that this was theorized was by Nikola Tesla, and he theorized that cosmic rays and radio waves, when conditions were right, can travel faster than the speed of light. And then Einstein said that the waves of energy that are traveling faster than the speed of light would undergo time dilation or time distortion, and that would actually create the time slip. So for those of you that missed the 2 previous episodes, a time slip is when the waves of these time links kind of overlap. And so what happens is a person who's in a certain time era will actually see or perceive and experience a different time overlapping onto our time link. And now it can be either in the future or in the past. There's a lot of documentation of both. And what we're doing with inducing a temporary time slip is we are trying to visit the future. That's the most beneficial thing to inducing a temporary time slip. Either visiting the future to see and perceive emotions and situations that may occur in the future, or maybe visiting the past when our health was better, our vitality was better, and kind of in training to that past energy. Hey to Leslie Lang and Ina and Sarah Hicks. So I'm going to give you a couple techniques tonight on how to induce a temporary time slip. So last week we were talking about the benefits of using the KP index, which is, it's a weather prediction type of reference, and not a lot of people know what KP means, but it's actually the name of a German guy who developed the prediction index, and his name was Kainenzeffer. So this is the Kainenzeffer prediction or weather prediction index, and it was established back in 1938, 1940s. And so the index goes from 0, which is calm, to 9, which is a major storm. Now, in order to induce a temporary time slip, they're referring to a high KP index, where there's a lot of energy in the environment to do that with. Hey to Cheryl Ann over here on Instagram. Thanks for joining. Another thing I wanted to tell you, and I don't know if I mentioned it last week or not, but stone circles have been measured and shown to have time distortion properties when the sun's solar flux levels are 4 or above, and that's on the KP index. During condition red periods on the KP index, the stone circles have shown to have time distortion properties, which I found was extremely fascinating. Now, Stonehenge, they said in this article, is built to take advantage of the midsummer solstice in June at a time of maximum sunlight and solar activity, where the KP levels are higher than normal. So that's significant. So we want to go over a quick technique. And I promised you guys I'd tell you about it. It's called quick coherence technique. This is one of the ways to induce a temporary time slip, supposedly, and it involves the heart math exercise. So what this does is it creates a temporary time distortion bubble around you that allows you to visit future emotional events. Very beneficial. So what it's been found is that the human heart puts out 10 times more electrical activity than the human brain. So that's an enormous amount of activity that's higher than your human brain. So the heart math exercise is used to generate a field of energy. And the field of energy is sort of like an energy of unconditional love. And what that does is it creates this time bubble from which emotions from the future can be detected and sensed. So now, here's the catch, is you want to do this when the KP index is at least a 4, but also during a period where more cosmic rays are penetrating the Earth's atmosphere. So that means you need to go to Suspicious Observer's YouTube channel and subscribe. If you really want to do this exercise, and I'm going to go through it with you, then what you need to do is watch the daily episodes, and they're all filmed at like 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. So when you get up, if you're in Eastern Standard Time Zone, they will already be uploaded, and you can find out when the cosmic rays are penetrating the Earth's atmosphere. They will give that on that channel every single morning. So when the KP index is above a 4 and when the cosmic rays are penetrating the Earth's atmosphere, that means if we're having a geomagnetic storm, if the solar winds are rising, and if we have coronal holes that are going to be connecting with Earth and the magnetic field, that will all be on Suspicious Observer's YouTube channel. So when these conditions are right, here's what you want to do. Step 1, and this is for visiting emotions from the future, if you want to detect emotions from the future. Step 1 is heart focus. You're going to focus your energy on the heart, center your energy here on the heart. Take 2 very deep breaths, clearing your mind. Step 2, you're going to experience a regenerative feeling here, which means that you're going to visit a memory that regenerates the energy here. Something from, maybe your past, maybe your youth. You're going to experience a regenerative feeling here in the heart area. And then step 3 is you activate that positive memory or emotion that you're calling on. And you want to actively connect this energy down to the heart-centered energy. And so what that does is it not only transforms stress and provides inner balance, but this connection and the deep breathing supposedly will help you translocate and experience a time slip of the future for future emotions that you might have. So be open to any kinds of flashes of insight that you might get, or specifically what type of feelings you have in this heart-centered area, thinking about and projecting and translocating yourself to the future. So it's theorized that the emotions from the future can be detected using this heart math exercise. It's also called quick coherence technique. The whole theory behind it is to connect the brain and the heart's energy together to create this time bubble around you. Now, can this be done? Let's try it and see. I say it's worth trying to do that. Now, some of the ways that you can accelerate this or increase this is to use that solar flux activity. Like I said, watch and see when the solar winds are connecting with Earth. Also, make sure that KP index is above a 4. And the higher solar winds and the higher KP index that's gonna help increase this torrid energy field around you, which is electromagnetically based. So we're going to go over one more technique too. Let me do some quick shout outs here. Hey to Marta, Leslie, Samantha, Dana, Veronica, Yasmin, and Frank. Thanks for joining us. Again, if any of you guys have any questions about this, I know that this is really foreign to a lot of people, but I will do my best to try and answer any questions that you might have. Now, here's some other theories on inducing a time slip. They also talked about how you can induce a time slip used for healing by using the available energy period, by picturing yourself in a place where your body is thriving and in perfect health. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the only time my body was ever been in perfect health was probably when I was 12. So that would have to be the time frame that I would have to picture myself in perfect health. So again, when you try this, you're going to use a strong solar flux from the sun when the KP levels are higher. But here's the difference in the heart math exercise and this particular time slip technique is you're going to use a large moving mass, which means, and this was one of Einstein's theories on mass and mass energy and mass influence, that the moving large mass is going to produce the time distortion. So that can be a car or a train, because we know a lot of time slips have occurred when people have been traveling in motion, particularly on trains, and they come to a sudden stop. The person comes to a sudden stop, and that produces this time distortion. So any kind of train or a car can cause an experience in a time slip, especially after getting off of that train. You know how you still feel like if you've been moving for a long time and you get off the train and you still feel that momentum? I think it might have something to do with that. But particularly if you stop or get off the train or get out of the car at a historical location. This is like the other thing in the mix that produces a temporary time slip is historical locations have a large amount of place memory. In other words, they have a large amount of resonant energy from previous time frames or from previous locations in time space. And so these locations, it's easier to produce a time slip because of the historical imprint that's at the location. Now, here's some pretty neat facts that I wanted to present. It's also theorized that a new moon, which we're about to come up on, I mean, today was 11% waning, so we're almost at a new moon. So that's why I wanted to get this information to you guys tonight, is because, you know, some of you may want to take advantage of the new moon that will be in the next couple of days, that energy. So it's stated in a fact that the new moon exhibits slight gravity anomalies because it's aligned or facing the sun when it's new. And so what this could probably be doing is creating a type of gravity shielding effect. And so new moons are very perfect along with historical locations for inducing temporary time slips. Now, I've never heard of a time slip being permanent, of course, because if you were stuck in a permanent time slip, you're not going to be able to come back and tell people about it and have it documented. Now, certainly there are people that just disappear for no reason, and it is not thought that, you know, any harm came to them. They could be, you know, somebody who experiences a permanent time slip, but I've never heard of that happening. Now, here's another theory that you may want to think about. You know, hauntings at historical locations could be a form of a time slip that is reoccurring at the location. And it's like the recording that's imprinted in that historical location, and it gets activated over and over due to maybe high KP indexes, maybe solar wind activity, maybe new moon activity. I have noticed over my last 30 years of doing paranormal research and blogging that new moons, 3 days before a new moon or 3 days before a full moon, activity goes out of the roof. And it could be these high moon influences or the gravitational anomalies that are caused by new moon and full moon that activate these type of recordings in the environment. So hauntings occur most often around new moons and are also high during solar wind activity, which is another term for condition red periods on the KP index. Hey to Natalie, thanks for joining us over here on Instagram. So that's really interesting. And please let me know if you have any comments. Special shout out to Barbara Bacon and Crystal Crazy. Thanks for joining in tonight. So now, according to the research that I found, the basic fundamentals of a time slip are 24 to 48 hours before or after a new moon specifically. Now, I'm going to bring my personal experience is new moon or full moon, but this research says specifically new moon in a location where historical events or historical recordings have happened, specifically historical objects. And that was one of the things that we talked about on last week's episode, is to induce a temporary time slip. It would be important during these time frames to hold a historical object, be able to meditate and put your mind in that vibration or resonant frequency of that particular historical time frame. So that's how to induce a temporary time slip. Now, let me see if there's anything else. I did want to bring this up before we close for the evening. There are 2 periods during the year when the moon influence is at its highest, and that is in the spring when the energy is at its surge and it's at its highest, and in the fall just after the crescent moon when it's bringing energy from the future to the present to stabilize destruction to make way for future growth. So those are the 2 periods of the year when the moon influences the most. So let's see. Hey to Marshall, Anna has a question. Interesting about the new moon and full moon. I worked in a high school assistant principal's office for 25 years. Kids always seemed crazy a day or 2 before a new or full moon, almost worse than the actual day of each. Yes, I agree. Just from what I have studied and what I have tracked, it's classically for me 72 hours before a new moon and 72 hours before a full moon that the energies are at their very highest. And so those are the times when it's very optimal to induce a temporary time slip. So let me go over the key factors to do this. Number 1, you need to know how to meditate, because it does take an altered brainwave state to access these energies. Number 2, you need to watch Suspicious Observers YouTube channel every morning to find out when the solar winds are happening, when the geomagnetic storms are happening, Suspicious Observers also has an app that you can download on your phone that gives you all that information. It's called Disaster Prediction App. And I think it only costs like $2.99. But it will tell you when earthquakes are happening, when geomagnetic storms are happening. You need to know when the KP index is above a 4, when the solar winds are happening, when geomagnetic storms are happening. Also, like weather, thunderstorms are where the electricity is high in the environment. That's a perfect time to induce a time slip. You need to be at a historical location to induce some time slips, or be in contact with a historical object and be able to hold it and meditate at the same time to induce this, temporary time slip. Hey to Missy Bennett Adams. So the two things that we talked about this evening were the heart math exercise. If you want to know more about it, there are a ton of YouTube channels that have video recordings about how to do it. But remember, it's a 3-step process. It's heart focused, and its goal is to connect the brain and the heart. But remember, your heart it puts out 10 times more electrical activity than the human brain. So step 1 is heart focus on the heart, 2 deep breaths, experience that regenerative feeling in the heart, connect the brain and the heart, activate a positive memory or emotion here, and transform the stress and provide inner balance. And that's when you should get your look at emotions from the future, and those will come in the way of feeling. Remember, the other way that we induce the time slip is to be traveling either on a train or in a car to a historical location, and it's after you get off of that vehicle and stop that the temporary time slip should happen. But again, it has to be during a time where the KP index is above a 4 and we have strong solar winds happening. Now, the interesting thing about that is, and we're going to do a show on this, special shout out to Brenda and Rolando. Thanks for joining me. If you guys didn't already know, X points are another show that we're going to do in the future. And X points are being studied by NASA. I think that they started studying X points in 2013 or 2014. And these are portals of energy that connect directly to the sun. And so they're studying these portals to see if there's any way that we can use those for transportation or information or anything like that. So we now know that portals do exist. They're in the form of X points, and NASA is currently studying those very hard to see exactly what they are, what they can be used for. And so that kind of lends a lot of credence to inducing the temporary time slips using the solar winds. Now, X points are the intersection between the Earth's energy and the solar wind. It's that point where those two energies intersect. And if you want to know more about it, just look up X points on YouTube. There will be a lot of different videos about it. Again, if you enjoy these Monday night episodes, go ahead and hit that share button now and share this out in your news feed. That's the biggest way you can help the show out, is by sharing it in your news feed with other people and spreading the word and having them tune in and watch on Monday night. Hey, Devon Pfister, thanks for joining us this evening. So next week is going to be Rife frequency, R-I-F-E, frequencies. Tune in, learn how to use those to better your life and improve your health. Rife frequencies are used to really improve your health. And then don't forget the online webinar, Metaphysical Uses of Gemstones, August the 7th, 7 p.m. Link is in the description of this video. Go ahead and click there and get yourself a ticket before they're all gone. And I also wanted to talk about the rest of the month of August. Starting August the 11th, I will be in New Orleans. I will be doing some on-site, on-location walkthroughs of some very haunted areas. Tune in and see those. I would love to share those with you. And so I will see you on August the 5th with Rife Frequencies. Thanks for putting up with all the technical difficulties tonight. Kisses from Kentucky, and I will see you next Monday night. Later, guys. Have a great week.